Hey guys, welcome to another walk in the woods with Brandy and I. So today my thinking is about community and the importance of having people in your life and influences. That's something that I've been really kind of figuring out, as I always thought of myself as a individualist, and really like sort of a champion of individualism in a lot of ways. And, given my personality, it makes sense because I'm definitely on the scale. So a lot of people kind of mix up what introversion and extroversion really are, what they mean. But to put it simply, introversion doesn't mean, oh, I'm shy or I'm afraid of people or I don't want to be around people. Introversion really just more so refers to how you feel when you spend a lot of time with people. And so introversion, as an introvert, if I spend a lot of time with people, like in groups and lots of interactions, it's cognitively fatiguing. It kind of makes me tired. Wears me out. I experienced that yesterday. We had a day out and we were checking out Brandy's jewelry displays for her, the Fedora Designs. It's her business. And we spent a lot of time with people, a lot of time interacting. We did some shooting with our pastor, with our friend John, and we're working on a documentary with them. So that was fun and that was enjoyable. It was enjoyable hanging out with people at some of the local places like Huntsville Tattoo and over at Splintercraft on the square here in Huntsville. And it was enjoyable. But despite the fact that it's enjoyable, I came back home and after, we had not the best night prior to that. We only got like 6 hours that we could even be in bed, and it doesn't necessarily mean that 6 hours of sleep. But anyway, despite being kind of tired and everything else, we went and we did it. We had a good time. We got some things done, did some updating of Brandy's displays. And by the time the day was over, I was done. I was completely done. It's hard to even explain the emotional state of what you feel as an introvert when you have spent a lot of time with other people. And the only exception to the rule really is pretty much like your own significant other, like your wife, your husband. You can be with them all the time and it doesn't affect you the same way as other relationships, other people. There's never a point where you just kind of wear out or whatever. You need to be completely alone. At least that's my experience, and that's the experience I think of a lot of people that are introverted. But yeah, the feeling of it was like, I'm just burnt out, man. I kind of just feel grumpy, feel irritated at everything, feel like I just want to go to bed. I don't want to think about anything. Even thinking feels like it hurts. Feels like my brain is sparking. The gears are grinding together. And it was just kind of overload, it was like social overload. I had more than I was really ready to deal with that day, yesterday. Which again, it wasn't anything negative, it wasn't anything bad. But, I needed more time to rest. I needed more time to take a moment by myself, or with Brandy, obviously, we're always together, but that solitude of not being surrounded by other people, other influences and voices and stuff like that, I needed a little more of it to be more relaxed, to be more relieved, I guess. I regain energy from solitude. I regain energy from spending time in a quiet environment, a restful place where I'm not expected to interact with anyone, where there's not just that feeling around me of, other people that are sort of pulling on my energy, and that I am inevitably, to some degree or another, kind of performing for. And so yeah, for me, it's easy to just say, hey, it's better to be alone. It's better to be able to just do my own thing, and I don't need a bunch of other people all around me. I don't need a large quantity of friends. It's easy for me to look at other people who seem to be dependent upon groups, that seem to be really maybe overly attached in my mind to their friends and to their little friend group, and look at them and just kind of, I hate to say it, but the natural tendency is to kind of have disdain for them. It's just like, come on, be self-sufficient, have some personal pride, be able to stand on your own 2 feet, think about things for yourself. And I've had to learn that even though that is the truth about how I feel about a lot of things and how things feel for me personally, how I experience life, the reality is I still do need other people. Like, obviously, I need my wife, I need my person, but I also need other friends, I also need other influences. I need mentors. I need contemporaries, people that are functioning in the same kind of things that I'm functioning in, that give me some grounding and some, it's not about measuring yourself against other people. It's about being able to triangulate what it is you are, what it is you do. And you can't really do that very well with people that are not even the least bit similar to you in your direction and what you're doing. So I've had to learn, that I guess one of the things too is that I dealt with a lot of hurt. And that's something I'm processing, is I felt a lot of rejection, felt a lot of not belonging in groups that I was to any degree a part of. And so, it was easy just to write the whole thing off and say, I don't need that. I don't need people like that. And the reality is, I just needed to have some experiences of people that are really good. Like, our current situation in life is the best it's ever been. We've really found people that are creatives like us, that are open and warm and accepting and share our values in a lot of ways, including Pastor Charles. I've not been too impressed with a lot of pastors I've met, to be honest. And he, on the other hand, he's a real leader. He's a real person. He's someone that, when I see how he handles other people, the way he manages things, the way he interacts, he really has the heart of a servant. He really is a model of servant leadership. And a lot of the principles of John Maxwell, I've read a decent bit of John Maxwell. I see him living out those principles. Or, Dale Carnegie and How to Win Friends and Influence People. I see that way of thinking and how he does things. So, as I've gotten to know him better, as I've continued to see and evaluate over the last year, he's earned my respect. He's earned my respect, he's earned my trust. I see him for the real leader that he is. And I see that situations that are difficult for me to deal with, and how other people are and how other people react, and how to kind of be that bridge to moderate and be a go-between, so that you can help bind people together that might otherwise not be able to find coherence, not be able to really group together, to really be a tribe. He does it. He does it really well. And a church without walls is an example for me of how to build a tribe with people that are all very different personalities and temperaments, different emphasis on what their life is about, what they're moving toward. And yet there's a real spirit of kinship. There's a real familial aspect to the whole thing. And, I credit Charles for that. I see that he has set that standard for everyone. He's made that a model that you can love your neighbors, you can connect with these people that are in your life. He doesn't know a stranger, he talks to everyone. So from a, personality type difference, like, he's definitely much more of an extrovert than I am, I think. Not that he doesn't have any introversion. I think he does need his own quiet time. He does, because the reality is we're not all just like purely extrovert or purely introvert. We have aspects of both inside us. The question is where you fall more so on the spectrum. Are you more toward the introvert end of the scale? Or are you more toward the extrovert side of the scale? And I would say that Charles is more extroverted than I am, because he genuinely seems to get energy from being around people. So of course I take that into perspective. It's not like I can't just copy and be just like him, though in some ways I do take the inspiration of others that are more extroverted, like my wife, and I play off of that energy, and I bring out some of that extroverted quality myself, and it helps. It helps when you have that, the mirror neurons in your brain. You observe how they're acting, you observe what they're doing, and sometimes too, just if you really love a person, the vicarious enjoyment kind of brings you to life in it. But anyway, I've recognized that I really need that kind of example in my life. I need that kind of friendship, someone that has definitely walked in leadership more than I have, and to a higher level. They're further down the road than me. And I see that in Charles, and I absorb that by his example. Likewise, the question of nurture or nature, it's always both, really. It's not one or the other. And I've recognized that so much of my personality and philosophy and the development of how I've come to be where I am, the richness of the foundation that I have, it comes from my parents. It comes from the things that they taught me, the things that they exposed me to, whether it's different forms of music or different living books that my mom read to us because I was homeschooled. And all those things, they helped build the kind of thinking and build the kind of vocabulary that I have. So I'm not a self-made man. There is no self-made man. We're all a combination, it's a collaborative project, the building of your identity. And so as you get older, it's not done. Your identity is still being developed. You're still becoming something. You're still unfolding in all that you really are. I don't think that ever really stops. As long as your mind is still sharp and still functioning, as long as you're still alive, I think you're still growing, you're still evolving, and you still need other people to help you not stagnate. So, it's not so much, I guess, of a question as a reflection. The question, though, for me has been how to find those people. And the main thing that I think I've kind of arrived at is you find those people by lots of iterations, lots of attempts, lots of trying. You have to be willing to break some eggs. And it's not easy. Because, sometimes people that you think are really cool turns out to be wrong. Turns out they're not as good as you hoped, and there's things about them that are fundamentally flawed that will never make for a good connection between you and them. And not to say that like they're just evil or they're just bad people, but there's not really a way of structuring a relationship with them that really does you any good. And we only can have a certain number of people in our life, so you have to choose wisely. Especially when it comes to those that you take very close to yourself that you spend a lot of time with. So, in my experience, it's like you'd like to think that you could just have this really good discernment, this really good nose, this intuition that you know who's a good person and who's not. But in my experience, it's like you really just have to keep trying. Keep trying and keep on working through, and because there's this difficult thing that we have to navigate. Like on the one side, you don't want to just reject everyone. You don't want to just find reasons to write everybody off. But on the other hand, you don't want to settle. You don't want to overly excuse behavior that's just not positive, that's just not good. Someone that just will never make a good friend for you. You don't want to just accept whatever comes your way because that's what's there in front of you. There's a lot more to the world. Like 7 billion people on this planet. I think it's closer to 8 billion now. I don't know, I lose track of that number. But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of opportunities. And you don't have to only deal with the people that you grew up with, that you were raised with, or the people that were at your school, or those that are, I don't know, like let's say you're an author. Well, you don't have to only be friends with authors that are there in your small town. You can go other places. You can look into other niches, into other groups. You can explore. And I think that's the main thing, is you just have to have the fortitude that you have to keep on exploring. You have to keep on trying. Keep on giving other people a try. And when you find something that is really good, when you do find your place, you don't let past mistakes, you don't let the way other people treated you, you don't let that stop you from settling in, from putting down roots, from drawing closer to people. And the scary thing can be, I guess, if I draw close to them, what if they just turn out to be like those other people? And how that was before. And the answer is, it could, they could be that way. It could happen. But it's worth finding out. It's worth finding out if they are going to be legit, if they're going to stick with you, if it's going to turn out that it's going to be a really good connection, or if it's something that's not worth your time. It's better to, forgive the rather morbid sound of it, but it's better to give them enough rope to hang themselves, or you'll never really know. And so that's been my kind of experience and what I've been sorting through in life. And I know that while my tendency further back in my past was just to write people off automatically based on my gut feel and based on whatever I wasn't too fond of that I saw, I'd develop an immediate impression of them and be like, yeah, no, I don't want anything to do with them. I'd be pretty picky. I realized that was a flaw in myself, that I could be too hasty in my judgment. I could be too quick. Now, the good thing was I did pay attention to what I felt about people. And that was good. I overcorrected. I went in the opposite direction. And I started to just, you know what, maybe they're not so bad. Maybe they're good after all. Maybe I just need to learn to tolerate this thing that, is about them that doesn't really mesh so well with me. Maybe they're a bit boisterous, or they're a bit overbearing compared to my personality style. Maybe they're jabs are really just playful and they don't mean anything wrong by it. And I went too far with that, and I tolerated people way longer that I shouldn't have. And I gave the benefit of the doubt way more than I ought to have done. When at a certain point, I should have just realized that, like, yeah, no, they're not a good person to have in my life. They're not a person of character. They're not someone that I need to be connecting myself to. They're not someone I need to be consistently around and a part of. And it's not about like, oh, they're evil. It's not about like, oh, they're just a terrible person. Some of them, though, kind of were, to be honest. But for the most part, it was just more like, yeah, this is not a relationship that's healthy for me. This is not something that's going to do me any good to be a part of. So that's taken time to kind of hammer out the difference between paying attention to my gut feeling about people, my discernment, my intuition, and on the other hand, reserving judgment, not being too quick to just automatically write people off. Because sometimes we do have to sit with it for a while, and I realized I have to really kind of think things through. Like, I had this feeling about this person. Okay, I'm not just going to either discard it or, jump on that as an impulse, but why do I feel that way about that person? What is that thing about them that's off, or is it something that reminds me of somebody else? Or, was it a misunderstanding? Is that an area where I'm a little more sensitive? I've had to take time to think that through. But yeah, that's basically my experiences, and it's still something I'm working out. I'm still trying to figure out where's the line. I don't think there's like a mathematical answer to that. I don't think there's a straight like personal measure that you can use that you can universalize and use for everybody. I think it's something that you have to figure out for yourself. But I would definitely caution anyone, as I've had to learn myself, do not dismiss that sense in your body, that feeling that you have, that embodied feeling that this person is someone that I want to avoid. This is someone that I don't want to be around. This is someone that I kind of am inwardly groaning if I have to deal with them. Don't try to convince yourself, oh, they're not so bad. I like them. They're cool. There's this thing and that thing about them. Don't do that to yourself, and don't do that to anyone else. It's not right. If there is a sense about someone, if you're having to tolerate them, that's probably not someone you want really close to you. That's probably a waste of your time. Not that they as a person are a waste, but it's probably a waste for you to be spending a lot of time with them. That's something I've had to learn the hard way. I'm still learning, still trying to find the difference, and even people in the current circle that we're a part of, like, there's a level of where I set the boundary of how close I want to be with them, how much I want to allow them in, because some of the people who are associations with the people that I do really respect and I do like a lot, I don't jive with them. Like, they don't understand me, they don't understand Brandy and I and what we're doing with our life. And I want to be on friendly enough terms with them. I don't want to be enemies, obviously, with anybody if I can help it. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to go have dinner with them. I'm not going to hang out with them at their house. I'm not going to invite them specifically to something that we're doing. I'm not going to overly share much about what's happening in our life. I accept that they are there and a part of that circle and a part of the things that we're a part of, but other than that, I can be friendly enough without having to be overly open to them. So, it's a balance, and it's something I think that's constantly we have to constantly kind of zero it in. Life changes, we change. People that might not have been healthy for me 10 years ago, people that might have been dangerous for me 10 years ago, now I can learn things from them. I can actually positively benefit from being in their life, or I can actually be a positive influence in their life at this point. So seasons and times change, and people do change. That's something I used to not believe. I used to think that it was better just to take it as, you know what, people don't change. So you stay safe, because it's like, yeah, I've got your number, I know what you're like, and you're not going to get me again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You're not going to trick me again. But I've learned that you do need to keep a sort of a place of openness in your heart, that given enough time and given enough proof that someone has really changed, it can be worthwhile letting someone have a second chance. It can be worthwhile. And by second chance, I don't mean they messed up once and you cut them off. And then, okay, now here's your next try. These things are measured, I think, by various offenses. Like, you rubbed me wrong with this one situation. Okay, I'm taking note of that. You rubbed me wrong with a second situation. All right. And okay, third time, this is a repeat offense. Maybe I said something, maybe I've confronted you about it, talked about it, said, hey, I don't like that. I made it clear with my body language. I've set boundaries. You're still doing it. Okay, it's time to create some distance. And second chance to me is not about those beats that happen in between. It's about like, okay, you've been frozen out from the core of my life. You've been frozen out from the deep inside. There's going to be a cool off period. I'm going to wait a while. And then as I observe your behavior, as I see the way that you act, what goes on, I'll decide if you're someone that I want to let back in closer again. But I will be cautious about it, and I will do it more gradually. And I'll definitely be paying closer attention to any kind of intuition that I get that it's like, this person doesn't smell right, doesn't feel right. So anyway, kind of a longer episode here, but it's just stuff that's coming to me, stuff I'm trying to work through myself. If you have any questions about the subject of community, of how you connect with people when you're different, an outlier, maybe you're just different from the people that you grew up with your whole life. You're different from the people that you're generally around, have generally been available in your vicinity, or the trade that you're in, or the hobby that you do, or whatever it is that you are involved with that brings you into contact with other people. There are other people out there for you. I can promise you that. There's somebody that will resonate with you, someone that won't be taking advantage of you, that won't just be aggravated at your existence. And it's worth finding them. But if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to ask in the comments or DM me. Ask Sean Douglas on all the platforms. At Ask Sean Douglas. And I'd love to continue the conversation. If you have any other questions, same thing, let me know. I want to walk and talk these things out, think these things through together. And it's not about coming necessarily to answers. It's about being able to frame the questions better. It's about being able to understand the underlying concepts and try to figure out something that's useful, try to figure out something that works for you. This is I'm trying to find out something that works for me. So I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Love y'all. Peace out.